downstairs I can hear Final Fantasy VII soundtrack playing on the PlayStation. It's been on for weeks and it's lovely. It's really soft and soothing and exhilarating. It's been a fantastic game. So, yeah, that's what I've been up to. This has been a game month. Last 2 months. So, time for a catch. I'm Cassie at Afternoon Literature, and I thought that it would be really nice if we could just have a cup of tea and a chat. I love watching vlogs and I've tried to film them, but I don't like filming them and editing them. You never turn out the way I want them to. So I thought what I would prefer to do is basically just film a little bit of a sit-down chat where I have a cup of tea with you and update you on what my reading week or so has been like. So for this chat, I thought I'd update you on the month of April so far. We are on the 22nd of April. I'm taking a little bit of time off just before work finishes, just to chat with you about the couple of books that I have managed to read. This month it is The Owls, which is part of the Magical Readathon run by G at Book Roast. Now, I really low-key take part in some of these readathons, and it's because it helps me to have a tiny bit of a challenge. I find it fun to go on Twitter or in Discord and take part in some of the community stuff, but I also don't push too far or too hard with them, because they're just kind of like a guided way for me to develop and adapt my reading and maybe pick up books that I wouldn't have reached for ordinarily. The Magical Readathon has a series of careers linked to the idea of the careers you could have in the wizarding world for Harry Potter. And this time, because I am completely unoriginal, I'm going for Hogwarts Professor. As a teacher, you can kind of get that, but also because it was just the easiest with the owls, which is terrible, but also what I'm doing. So there's that in the background. There's also me trying to make my way through my TBR tokens. I originally thought that I could read 11 books this month based on previous reading and the extra time that I would have to do that. And then I ended up rolling 12 because I can't count. And in reality, I have so far, and we're now on the 22nd of April, so well over halfway, read 3. So, yeah, I'm not going to meet that target again. But I have picked up books that I don't usually pick up, which is good. I think my reading mood is very all over the place, which is happening for a lot of people at the moment for obvious reasons, but also because sometimes I read so much of one genre or one type that the stories begin to blend a little bit and I just fancy something different. So in one way I've been really fancying playing computer games rather than reading, and that has massively decreased my reading at the moment. The computer games I've chosen to play are Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I'm so excited about, but also playing Animal Crossing, which a lot of people have been playing lately. But also the fact that I haven't felt like picking up a fantasy and I haven't really felt like picking up YA. And that is very unusual for me. And the books that aren't in those genres take me a lot longer to read than those genres. So that also accounts for the fact that I've read 3 books. So this is kind of like a mini wrap up as well. I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the 3 books that I have read and maybe give you a very quick review of them here. The first book that I read this month was After the End by Claire Mackintosh. Claire Mackintosh is an ex-police officer who usually writes crime and thriller novels. Her first 3 books, Lie to Me, I See You, and I can't remember. Let's see if I can remember the first one. The third one were fantastic. I really enjoyed every single one of them. Oh, let me lie. Anyway, I really enjoyed every single one of them, and Wayne and I have given them 5 stars, both of us. We went to see her, we have them signed, we really enjoy reading them. Lately, she has written 2 other books that are not thrillers. One was A Cotswold of Life, which is kind of like a autobiography style book. The other one was an adult novel called After the End, which is about a couple who experience the news that their son is terminally ill, but both of them want to deal with it in a different way. And it is about what happens when the parents can't agree on how to deal with the situation. Now, After the End is an incredibly sad premise, and I knew that going in. I also knew that it was related and linked somehow to something that's actually been experienced by Claire McIntosh and her family. So I was aware that this is a novel that is very close to her, and also that could be incredibly impactful. Unfortunately for me, I didn't love is the wrong word, but I didn't particularly find this novel as engrossing as I could have. The first part of the novel is all about the 2 parents dealing with the situation of their terminally ill son, the emotions, how they're both dealing with it, both together and apart, because the father works away a lot and has to maintain that job in order to help with the bills and things like that. And the mum is there every day. So how are they coping with these situations and the other people around them, and watching other children be okay while their son is not? And I found that very emotional. You see it from the perspectives of both the mother and the father, so each chapter switches between them. I really engaged with that part of the book, and that really was heartbreaking to watch. I also thought it was really interesting that you got an aspect from the doctor as well. So every 5 chapters or so, you'd also get a chapter thrown in of the doctor. You'd see a little bit of her life, but you would also get to see what it is like making a decision like this, informing people about what the news is like. I think that was incredibly well done, and it was a really good aspect to put in. Unfortunately for me, the novel fell down halfway through, and that is because of decision in the way that it was organised and written. So it's a book that does multiple perspectives, primarily Pip's perspective and Max's perspective. And in those 2 perspectives, you get a chapter from each of them. Claire McIntosh made the decision to feature the same characters and have the people interact with exactly the same characters, whether it's in Max's narrative or Pip's narrative. But halfway through the novel, those narratives split into 2 different timelines. What happens if Max's decision is the one that is followed through, or what happens if Pip's decision is the one that follows through? Because each chapter is very short, while it makes it really quick to read, it also makes it really difficult for me to become attached to the people. I found myself getting confused between the timelines now, what character had said what in which iteration, who had experienced what in which timeline, etc. And so it made it difficult for me to really identify with specific characters or to really understand their motivations and their feelings and engage with that. I feel like this was a choice decision, and we had 100 pages from Pip's perspective and then ended there, and then 100 pages from Max's perspective and ended there. I think I would have been fine with it. I think it's the shopping and changing and the switching back. I completely understand the decision and the choice. It just wasn't for me. It made it difficult for me to connect with them or really feel that emotion, because as soon as you started to feel something, you switched to another character, another timeline, another set of experiences, and I just couldn't reconcile all of that at once. So, do I suggest other people read it? Yeah, it's a compelling novel. Claire McIntosh is a brilliant writer. Everything I've read by her, I've adored and loved. This novel, it's just the organisation and the way it's written that put a barrier there in my full enjoyment of it. I do think that there could have been more of the doctor's perspective in the second part of it. I understand why there wasn't. But I think that it's also lacking slightly in not having seen that, because she became one of my favourite characters, and I really wanted to know what had happened to her and how these decisions had impacted her as well, because I thought it was an interesting perspective that you don't often see. So I finished with After the End. I think I gave it a 3-star in the end, and I was incredibly surprised to do that. But I think it's understandable why I have. And so then I picked up a sci-fi, again, really unusual for me. So I picked up Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel, which is the beginning of a sci-fi trilogy. In Sleeping Giants, a young child is out in the woods playing when they fall into basically a pit and discover that actually they have fallen into a pit that contains a giant hand and are now in this giant robotic metallic hand, but the hand predates our existence. So the assumption is that this is then maybe alien technology or something like that, because how could we have had this type of technology so far back? But it definitely doesn't fit now. It definitely was from like 6,000 years ago, so it must be alien in nature. This then leads to a shady government agency wanting some kind of information about it, a researcher who wants to know more about it, military who want to use military applications, and so on and so forth. I don't usually read sci-fi, so this is difficult for me because I feel unfair going into it. Now, what I will say is I was incredibly excited for this because while I don't usually read sci-fi, I wanted to, and I wanted to enjoy it, and I'd heard such great things about this book. One of those things that I'd heard was how fast and easy it was to read, how compelling, how much people just wanted to pick up the next one in the series straight away, and people have gone instantly out to buy it. I will not be continuing on with the series. So, the things that are really good about it were the fact that it's told entirely in like interviews. I think there's 1 or 2 journal entries, but the rest is all interview. And the characters are all distinct, which is incredibly difficult to do when you're only doing dialogue. They've got enough personality, and the writing is definitely good enough to make each one of the characters feel like they have their own elements, their own personality, and they're not too contrived, which I massively enjoyed. So I actually did quite like the characters, and in general, I would like to know more about them and what happened. On the downside of it, everything felt convoluted and very contrived. There was a shady government agent who we never found out the name of. There was a conspiracy around the entire political globe. There is an alien conspiracy which is going to come into the fore in the next novel. Then there was an evil, potentially Nazi kind of experimental doctor. I don't think she's Nazi. I think it's a different genocide or something she was involved in, but still, it just felt so cliche by the end of it. And there wasn't enough in the characters to bring me along because the plot was poor, the pacing was poor. In terms of the plot, they are searching for this robot pieces, they find them, they're searching for another robot pieces, they find it, they're searching for another robot, and so on. And it's just by about halfway through the novel, I was like, do something with them now. Maybe skip this bit, something else needs to happen. It felt samey, and then like some kind of James Bond experience thriller. So yeah, I won't be carrying on with it. I gave it 2 stars. I was glad when it was over, and I'm incredibly disappointed because I really wanted to look forward to it. So after that, having now completed my, I think it was my arithmancy Alpha out of my comfort zone, which was a science fiction book, and my Ancient Runes Owl for the Claire McIntosh book, which was after the end because it had the word heart on the back. I went on to another one for my TBR Tokens, which was another sci-fi, because I thought, no, I'm in the mood for a sci-fi and I want to find something good. And I picked up Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jake Kristoff. So, Gemina is the second book in the Illuminae Files, which is a young adult science fiction series about a colony of people who are attacked, and it relates to the case files to do with this attack and all the subsequent things that have happened after. It's told in interviews, case files, records of documents, maybe someone narrates basically what happens on camera and things like that to tell you what's going on there. So it's kind of put together like you are way in the future of this, looking at the case files of the case to see who was in the wrong and what happened and how this occurred, but at the same time you're in it at the time frame. I really enjoyed Illuminae, which follows Katie and Ezra, who are 2 characters that were on the Carenza colony when the disaster happened, and it follows them trying to basically deal with the disaster, deal with the fact that they've just lost loads of their family, and get away from the ensuing aftermath of it. It also features some incredibly fun elements of sci-fi that I really, really like, and it definitely veers into horror, which I thought was fantastic. The second book doesn't follow Katie and Ezra. The second book follows Hannah and Nicholas. Hannah and Nick. Now, I've heard some people who say they like Katie and Ezra. I've heard some people who say they like Hannah and Nick. I think I liked both books just as much as each other. The characters were brilliant. They were fantastic to watch, to read and get to know. I really enjoyed hearing some of the banter between them. I liked seeing the development of the relationship, and I loved elements of this novel. I think it was really fun, very fast paced. There's more grotesque horror in this, which is brilliant because it has enough of the sci-fi elements that also then mixes in the horror that it reminds me of classic sci-fi movies. So in particular, I'm talking about movies, things like Alien movie. I explained it being like some kind of like Die Hard things, Die Hard and meets Alien or something for this book, and it kind of is like that. It's constantly action packed. It's full of frills and spills, but there's darkness and grotesqueness. There's also a couple of twists in there that I was just like, oh no, didn't see it coming, shocked, disgusted, appalled, brilliant. The writing's really cool. The formatting doesn't get in the way too much, and it's a really good frame for the story, for the narrative. So it's left me at the end really, really eager to get Obsidio, and the only reason I'm resisting buying it is because TBR Tokens has not allowed me to have a token yet, so I can't buy it. But yeah, I gave that 4 or 5 stars. I think it might be a 5 star. That's just me. Yeah, that's me. I think it might be a 5 star. Okay, so mentioning TBR tokens. So the whole point of TBR tokens is that every book I read kind of earns me a mark on a square. And once I've got a bingo square of it, I manage to achieve a token which I can use to buy books. I bought 2 books. I have no tokens, but I needed them. I needed the third one in the Popcorn sub-series. I needed it. And I also needed the book that's a follow-up to Grace and Fury. It was imperative. I also kind of need Obsidio. I'm still resisting right now, but I need it. And look, terms are hard and I can't read. So I need the books that I need to read because I need them. Also, I may have potentially spent something like 50 quid on Kindle books. I'm not entirely certain, but we're not going to mention anything about it right now, and I'm going to keep playing my game and trying. That's what I'm going to do. So what am I reading at the moment? Okay, I'm struggling at the moment. I'm reading Into the Hands of Soldiers by David Kirkpatrick, I think. Which is about the revolution in Egypt in 2011, which led to more revolutions in the Middle East, and the repercussions of that. I'm making my way through it slowly. It's a little bit hard going, but I'll catch up with you about that next time when hopefully I'll have finished it. Because of that, I'm also reading a fiction novel. So I'm reading The Moonstone by Lowkey Collins, which is a classic detective novel. This focuses on a lost jewel, but there's also the idea of a cursed element. There's middle classes. It's very kind of Agatha Christie style locked door type mystery one. I'm halfway through that now, and I've only paused because I've got a change of narrator, but I will be picking that back up in another day or two. I picked up Wizards of Once, which is by Cressida Cowell. This is a middle grade book, and they're reading it for middle grade monthly, which is JDRA Reads and Gavin from House of Shame Gavin have picked this for the middle grade monthly book. I've wanted to read for ages. I thought I owned it. I don't, so I bought it on the Kindle for 99p. So I have it on the Kindle for 99p. We're not going to say what. and not enjoying it. Yeah, I'm like 25-30% in, and I think it's just too young. It's just not for me. But I'll see. I'll see if I carry on with that or not. And this is how indecisive I am with books at the moment. I have a fourth book sitting by me, but I'm not reading it at the moment. But I want to pick it up, which is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. But I also keep looking at all the books on my shelves and just wanting to pick up every single one of those. So, struggling right now. Oh, and I'm listening to an audiobook. I'm listening to Michelle Obama's Becoming, which is brilliant. I'm really enjoying that. And so sometimes when I'm playing Animal Crossing, I've got that in, just listening to a couple of chapters, or like this morning while I was answering emails for work, I was listening to that. So that's been good. That's been really good. But I'll have finished it by the next time I do one of these updates. Okay. So for now, that's all I'm going to talk about. This is essentially just a little chatty video, just me chatting to you at the camera instead of a vlog, me giving you reading updates and letting you know where I'm up to. I'm going to aim to do these weekly-ish, and then in between I'll just do more standalone normal videos, like recommendation videos or like my TBR token ones. Right, let me know if you've read any of the books that I was talking about this week and what you think of them. It'd be interesting to discuss some of them to see if you found the same issues or see if there's anything that I might have missed that you think I should know about. Let me know what you're reading this week, because it's really cool. It'll be really good to talk about it, or if you are reading any of the things that I'm currently reading going forward. If you like this video, please like it, and if you would like to see more and catch up with me again next week, please subscribe to the channel. I promise I'll be posting more regularly going forward now that I've got an idea of more of a style that I want and that I'm happy with. I hope you're all safe and that you're staying well. Speak to you soon.